The morning sun shimmered across the quiet lake, painting the ripples gold. A thin mist clung to the water's surface as birds sang their soft symphonies. On the old wooden pier, a man sat beside a little boy, their fishing lines gently swaying in rhythm with the breeze. The man's hands were rough, his shirt faded, and his eyes, though tired, carried the warmth of someone who had learned to live with both loss and hope. That man was Daniel Brooks, a single dad who believed life, like fishing, required patience, even when the catch seemed far away. But Daniel didn't know that this ordinary Saturday morning, a day that began with him teaching a little boy how to fish, would change his life forever. Because that boy's mother was watching from a distance, and she was about to step into his world in a way neither of them could have ever imagined. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected love, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that touch the heart and remind us all what truly matters. That Daniel's story began 2 years after tragedy struck. His wife, Lily, had passed away suddenly, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old daughter, Emma, alone. Once a skilled carpenter, Daniel had given up his workshop to focus on Emma and took odd jobs at the lakeside lodge to make ends meet. His life had become a delicate balance between survival and fatherhood, simple, quiet, and often lonely. Every weekend, Daniel would take Emma to the lake. It was their ritual, a small escape from their struggles. They'd sit together, her tiny hands clutching the fishing rod, while Daniel taught her about life through stories. He told her that fishing wasn't just about catching something. It was about patience, faith, and knowing that sometimes what you wait for comes when you least expect it. One particular morning, while Emma chased butterflies near the shore, a small voice broke Daniel's concentration. "Can you teach me, too?" It was a boy, maybe 7 or 8, with messy blonde hair and curious blue eyes. He stood barefoot on the pier, holding a broken toy rod. Daniel smiled, the kind of smile that comes naturally to those who have known hardship but still choose kindness. "Sure, buddy," he said softly, handing him an extra rod. From that moment, the boy, whose name was Noah, joined their quiet fishing mornings. Daniel taught him how to cast the line, how to feel the water, and most importantly, how to wait. Noah was bright, eager, and full of questions. He reminded Daniel of what it meant to believe in small joys again. Emma adored him, too, and together the three of them laughed more than Daniel had in years. What Daniel didn't know was that Noah wasn't just any child from the neighborhood. His mother, Clara Westfield, was a successful businesswoman, a self-made millionaire who had built her fortune through hard work and determination after her husband abandoned her and their son years ago. She had recently moved to the lakeside community, searching for peace away from the city's chaos. When Noah came home excitedly talking about the nice man who taught him to fish, Clara grew curious. The following weekend, Clara decided to visit the lake. From a distance, she watched Daniel with her son, patient, gentle, guiding him as though he were his own. There was something profoundly human about him, something she hadn't seen in a long time. Humility, sincerity, and warmth without pretense. She stood quietly, unable to look away from the simplicity of the moment. Over the next few weeks, Clara began joining them. At first, she kept her distance, sitting on a nearby bench pretending to read. But slowly, Daniel began noticing her presence. One day, when Noah tugged at his sleeve and said, "That's my mom," Daniel looked up, and their eyes met for the first time. She smiled, shy yet warm, and something stirred in both of them. Clara introduced herself politely. Daniel, unaware of who she really was, simply nodded and offered her a seat. They spoke briefly about fishing, kids, and the beauty of the lake. There was no mention of money, success, or status, just two souls connecting through shared simplicity. Weeks turned into months. Their morning fishing trips became a quiet tradition. Daniel found himself looking forward to seeing her, and though he tried to ignore it, his heart began to heal in her presence. Clara, too, found something she didn't realize she was missing: peace. She admired Daniel's humility, how he treated everyone with respect, how he never complained about his struggles, and how he poured his entire soul into being a father. One evening, when the sun was setting behind the hills, Clara stayed behind after the kids had run off to play. Daniel was packing up the rods when she said softly, "You're a good man, Daniel." He looked at her, surprised, and replied, "I'm just trying to be a good dad." She smiled, eyes glistening. "That's what makes you special." But life has a way of testing people just when things start to bloom. One afternoon, a storm rolled over the lake. Daniel was at work repairing a dock when he heard shouting. Noah had gone out too far on the slippery pier, trying to retrieve a lost toy. Without a second thought, Daniel sprinted through the rain, dove into the freezing water, and pulled the boy to safety. Both were soaked and shivering, but safe. Clara arrived minutes later, terrified and crying. She held Noah tightly, tears mixing with the rain. "You saved my son," she whispered. Daniel simply shook his head. Any father would have done the same. That moment changed everything. Clara couldn't hold back anymore. She confessed that she wasn't who he thought. She was wealthy, owned several companies, and lived in a mansion not far from town. She expected Daniel to step back, to feel small or awkward, but instead, he just smiled and said, "Money doesn't define the kind of people we are. You're a mom, and that's all that matters to me." His words disarmed her completely. Over time, their friendship deepened into something more. Clara invited Daniel and Emma over for dinner. It felt strange at first, the grand house, the chandeliers, the fine china, but Clara made sure it never felt like charity. She treated them as equals, as family. Daniel, with his quiet strength, helped her see that love wasn't about wealth, but about the simple acts that built trust. Cooking together, fixing things around the house, teaching the kids how to fish in her backyard pond. Still, Daniel struggled privately. He worried that he didn't belong in her world. He was just a man who fixed boats and carved toys for his daughter. One night, while looking at his calloused hands, he told himself that love between two worlds rarely worked. But Clara wasn't about to let fear win. She showed up at his small cabin one evening with a picnic basket and said, "You taught my son to fish, but what you really taught him, and me, is how to believe again. Don't walk away from that." Under the starlit sky, surrounded by the soft hum of crickets, Daniel realized something. Maybe love wasn't about being enough for someone else, but about finding someone who saw enough in you. They talked for hours, sharing stories of pain, loss, and hope. That night, something shifted between them, a bond rooted not in wealth or appearances, but in shared humanity. Months later, Clara sold one of her companies to focus on community projects. She started a foundation for single parents, naming it the Brooks Foundation, after Daniel, the man who reminded her that true wealth isn't counted in dollars, but in hearts touched. That on the day the foundation launched, Daniel stood beside her, humble and proud, as the crowd applauded. He looked down at Emma and Noah, both smiling, both holding hands, and realized that his life had come full circle. He had once taught a boy to fish, and in return, that boy's mother had taught him to love again. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness and love can appear in the most unexpected places, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Stories that prove compassion can change lives. Speech balloon special request. Comment below. Do you believe that love can find you when you've stopped looking for it? I'd love to read your thoughts. As the sun set that evening over the calm waters of the lake, Daniel cast his line one more time. Beside him stood Clara, smiling softly, their children laughing nearby. For the first time in years, Daniel wasn't just teaching someone how to fish. He was living the lesson himself. Patience, faith, and love, the kind that finds you when you least expect it. And somewhere between the ripples and the sunset, two broken hearts had finally found home. Red Heart.